guys, welcome back. Today we are doing our sides and desserts. We're gonna do one side and one dessert because, I mean, everybody has the same things. You know how to make mashed potatoes, you know how to make sweet potatoes. You probably know how to make macaroni and cheese too, but we're gonna make it anyway. And then we're gonna make a really, really yummy dessert. So for macaroni and cheese, we are using a half a box of Elba macaroni, the medium-sized box of Velveeta, half a brick of sharp cheddar. What else do I have? Some Monterey Jack, some cayenne, flour, 2 tablespoons of flour, 2 tablespoons of butter for the roux for the cheese sauce, and a can of evaporated milk that seems to have evaporated. I don't know where it is. So we'll find that before we need it, I hope. So the first thing we're gonna do for our cheese sauce is make a roux. And we don't want a brown roux. We just want it to have the butter melted and the raw flavor cooked out of the flour before we start adding in our other stuff. So once the butter melts, it's gonna take like 2 minutes that it needs to cook. You know, I should probably be using a whisk for this. I bet that would be easier, especially when we start mixing. So that's got a minute to go. I'm gonna go ahead and open my can of milk here. I have 2 cans of evaporated milk just in case one isn't enough, but I think it's going to be. You can use whole milk, half and half, heavy cream, any of those things that you want. I am using the evaporated milk because I think it's creamier in the texture, and I think that'll make a really good flavor for our sauce, our cheese sauce. Turn my fire down a little bit, and we're going to start slowly adding in our milk. Oh, thank you. So we're going to start slowly adding in our milk because we don't want lumpy sauce. Nobody wants lumpy macaroni and cheese. There we go. And I already went ahead and boiled my noodles. I figure everybody knows how to boil noodles. I did not put any salt or anything in my water. Just boiled them straight. Alright, now, I didn't have any paprika, and a lot of people put paprika in the macaroni and cheese to give it a red color, more of a cheesy looking color, because I learned that once you add the milk, this is not cayenne. Once you add the milk, okay, because I learned once you add the milk to your cheese sauce, it takes away the red color, the orangish color of sauce. So I just put a little bit of cayenne in there. I didn't have any paprika. So to our mixture here, I have a half a block of shredded cheddar. I did not buy pre-shredded cheddar in the bag because that stuff tends to have a very oily texture, and I don't want an oily texture in my macaroni and cheese. So I bought the block and I shredded it. Turn the fire down a bit. And stir that, get that all combined in there. And then we're going to start adding in our cubes of Velveeta and letting them melt. I don't know if I've ever used Velveeta cheese for anything, and I have to admit I was kind of a child that I stood there poking at the jiggly cube of cheese for a few minutes after I first opened it. Smells good already. Smells cheesy. I think we may need a little bit more of that other can of evaporated milk, because this will thicken as it bakes, and you want it to be a little runny when you pour it in so the cheese gets all up in the noodles and gets in the little holes of the macaroni. Macaroni and cheese was going to be good also if you want to not have to cook all day long in the kitchen. If you want to make this ahead of time, a couple of days before, and put it in the freezer, and then take it out, or even just put it in the fridge, take it out before it is time to eat dinner, warm it back up in the oven. You've just made your life one side dish easier on Thanksgiving. Okay, so that was the last of our cheese that we just put in, and I have added another half a can of the condensed milk because I just didn't think it was creamy enough. So I'm going to stir this so it's all good and combined. I've actually never made baked macaroni and cheese before. I mean, like, I've made a box of macaroni and cheese and put it in a baking dish and put it in the oven, but I've never actually made my cheese sauce. I think we're good and mixed here. We're going to turn off our heat. Move that out of the way so we don't spill it. I use aluminum pans, throwaway pans for everything at Thanksgiving, because really, who wants to do all those dishes? Because you know your kids aren't going to do it. So, got my macaroni in here. I may have needed a bigger one of these. All right. pour this cheese sauce on top here. Oh my goodness. I don't know if it looks good, but it smells amazing. A little stir, get everything coated in the cheese. How's that look? Now we're gonna take some of this. I am using the pre-shredded bag of Monterey Jack because we're not going to use a lot of it. About, I don't know, maybe a third cup, maybe a half. Sprinkle it on top. Maybe a whole cup. We're gonna cover this. We're gonna bake it at 375 for about 35 to 40 minutes. We're gonna cover it for the first 10 minutes. After the first 10 minutes, we're gonna take the foil off and then just let it bake without the foil for the rest of the time so everything gets brown and bubbly and cheesy and delicious. So we'll pop this in the oven. I'm gonna clean up my mess from this and then we're gonna come back and make our super yummy dessert. All right, so now we are going to make our super yummy dessert. So we're making a caramel apple cake. So yummy. I may have too many apples here. So I'm just gonna chop a little bit more of this one up. And then we're gonna call it a day on these apples. All right, so you can totally get fancy with this if you want and make your cake from scratch, but we have enough to do on Thanksgiving. So we're just using a box yellow cake mix because it is okay to take shortcuts every once in a while. And you know, not be fancy. Cake mix here, we are going to follow the package directions, which is 3 eggs, a cup of water, and a third of a cup of oil. Normally when I make cakes, I just use the egg whites because the egg white gives your cake a much fluffier consistency. But when you make a yellow cake, it needs the egg yolks. It needs to be a little, yellow cake needs to be a little denser. So it was a third a cup of oil, cup of water, 3 whole eggs. Just gonna mix our cake mix. All right. Now we got our throwaway baking pan because we don't have time for dishes. And we're gonna take our apple slices and we are just gonna lay those out on the bottom of the baking pan, and if you can see, then by all means make this look beautiful. I'm just gonna make sure they're in there. Even layer of our apples. I'm using Granny Smith apples because I like the little bit of tartness that they have. And once you put this sweet cake mix on top and the caramel dip, it's really gonna cut down on the sourness of the apples. But so you can use whatever kind of apples you want. Red apples work really well too. And then all we're gonna do is pour our cake mix. Gosh, this is dangerous when you can't see. I'm always afraid that I'm gonna pour it on the counter right next to it because, I mean, well, it's not like we haven't seen me do that before. So just pour cake mix right on top of those apples. Give it a shake. Make sure we're all even and covered. And that's it. We're gonna put this in the oven for, I don't know, what's a cake take? Like 20 minutes, and it's on 375 because the macaroni and cheese is still in there. So when this is done, we'll come back and I will show you what to do with the cake after it's done baking. And here's a hint, it involves this tub of caramel dip. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Alright, so our cake is out of the oven. It's still warm. I'm gonna do this while it's warm, as soon as it comes out. We're gonna take a chopstick, take a skewer, take whatever you have that's gonna make holes, and we're just gonna go crazy, poke holes all over the top of the cake. Alright, you think we got enough holes in there? This was a lot easier to make a few years ago when I could see it. I think that's good. Alright, so we're gonna take our spoon. We're gonna get into the caramel dip. Oh, so good. And we're just gonna kinda, well, I guess we're gonna kinda spread it here. And it is gonna melt, soften up, and get down into all these holes that we poked in the top of this cake while everything is warm. And then when it cools, it's gonna be this really yummy caramel frosting on top of it. We are not gonna wait until ours cools to have a bite though. So we're gonna cut some here in just a minute. Alright. You think there's enough on there? Probably not. Just in case. Just in case. Alright, so we're gonna let that sit, kind of get down in there a little bit. We'll bring this macaroni and cheese over here, show you how yummy this looks. And, oh, I just stuck my finger in the caramel lid. We're gonna, I don't want to get into this because we're gonna put this in the fridge and save it for Thursday. But I am gonna get down here under a corner, just get a little, sneak a little bite out. This is good. This is really cheesy. It's got just a tiny bit of spice from the cayenne. That's good. Put that over here out of the way. Now, let's cut a little piece of this cake because we can say that this is going to make it till Thursday all we want, but this is absolutely not going to make it till Thursday. I mean, chances are we're just going to go to the store and buy some pies. Little piece out of here, out of the corner. And it'll probably come apart much better when it's cooled. Get our apples off the bottom there. I just want to try a little bite of this because I know this is hot. It's going to burn my mouth. I'm gonna take this and just go to the bedroom and watch TV. So I'm gonna go. Y'all like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram. I literally spend all day long on Instagram. So follow me on Instagram at Blind Girl Cooks. That's where all the recipes for all the delicious things that I make are. And we will see you next week when we make the turkey and the stuffing to finish up this delicious Thanksgiving dinner that we're making. Bye.